Today I'm going to be reviewing this UrbanVista manual pull saw that was recently sent to me by this brand. So I'm going to go and open this up, show you everything you get inside, and then of course I'm going to test it out on some tree limbs. So it is going to come inside of this bag, right inside the box, so it's all zipped up and everything. So that's actually really nice that it's neat like that. It's going to have a cover for your head on your pull saw, and then it comes of course with all the different pulls. So you can choose exactly how many pulls you want to add depending on how high the limbs are that you're trying to cut off of the trees. Comes with the instructions, comes with a pair of gloves as well, and then that's going to be, looks like an additional head. Let me pull that out here. Oh, that's just going to be the, yep, comes with an additional blade, and then looks like an additional head as well. So yeah, so you got two different heads depending on exactly how you were using it. So let me go ahead and get this all assembled and then we'll test it. So I got the pull all assembled together. One thing I did want to mention is this is actually going to have a pull cord where you can actually, use like a tree trimmer, which I'll show you that in a second. But that's not actually going to have as long of a cord as the entire pull. So you can see that ends about there, and I've got probably another 6-8 plus foot before I get to the end. So if you're using that, I would call it like a trimmer almost. It's this little thing right here. So this little clipper right here, and how this works is you pull on this and you're cutting that. So if you're doing that, you're not going to be able to use the full 30 foot, which I'm not quite sure that anyone would actually need the 30 foot anyway. It is going to be pretty floppy. I'll show you that here in a minute. So using it, 30 foot up in the air is going to be pretty difficult, but I am going to go ahead and try it out with the saw itself. And then I'll also try with the clipper just to kind of show you what I'm talking about in regards to that cord, just truthfully just being too short if you're using the entire length that it comes with. So 30 foot is actually pretty unwieldy. Like, it's just truthfully way too long. You can see I've got it. I'm going to be cutting this branch up by my chicken coop, but it's like all the way from there, all the way down to there. And there's no easy way for you to actually handle it. So you're probably not going to use all 30 foot. So I'm going to take off a pretty good sized section, and then I'm going to be cutting down that tree limb. So I swapped out the ends. So it comes with these two ends. So this one, and then it comes with that pruning one. So the pruning one's going to work if you're getting like lower branches or smaller branches. I'm cutting a pretty good size one. So I'm going to go ahead and try it with this. So I've got this limb. It's probably, I would say maybe an inch or inch and a half in diameter that I'm going to be cutting this on. So I'm going to go ahead and try that. Again, you can see the issue that I'm having is that it's bowing so much, right? So I'm not really able to keep it in position. I'm not really able to get the pressure on it that I want. And because of where this one's at, like if I went straight up and down, it might work a little bit better, but I'm just gonna have to go back and forth a lot with this manual pull saw to be able to cut it. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, like a bad review of this pull saw. It's just something you have to keep in mind when you're talking about any manual pull saw at all. Because unless this arm is going to be really, really, really stiff or a solid piece. Like if you're buying it online, you're not going to be able to get a solid piece. And so because of the bounciness, etc., that it has in this, getting it to cut through even this, I would say, pretty small branch, there we go, it just takes a while, right? So it does cut, as you can see, and I wouldn't be able to get this with a regular chainsaw. But if you get a battery powered chainsaw, pull saw, or a gas powered pull saw, that's going to make, if you cut more than just a couple of branches, that's going to make this job a whole lot easier. Like I've used a battery powered chainsaw before that's on a pole. About to get through it here. There we go. I've used a battery powered one before, and quite literally you just put it on top. As long as you're within reach, the bow doesn't matter. Pull the trigger and it's just going to cut through it. You can keep that really nice and sharp. With this, you have to try and get pressure, really, really difficult, just because of how high you are off the ground. So does this work? Absolutely. You can see the limb that it took down does work for smaller limbs that you need to get off the ground. But if you're doing a lot of cutting, I'd probably recommend getting one that's going to be battery powered or gas powered, just because this is going to wear you out real fast. So this thing is going to come with a lot of different parts. So you've got this blade. It's also going to come with an extra blade in here as well. So it's nice that it comes with that. And then you get this third one. Now, I didn't show using this one with the pruning spot, but it actually works really, really easily. So the rope just quite literally goes down to the bottom, and then you just pull on the rope like so. and then it's just going to take and it's going to push that in, and you're going to cut it by pulling on that rope. So that's going to be a nice feature when you're trimming off or pruning smaller branches. The 30 foot is quite literally just too long. Like, it just makes it where you can't handle it with one person. You might be able to do it with two, but just with one, it's not going to work very, very well. And then just because of the bend on this, you are only going to be able to cut smaller branches with it. So if you're trying to cut something that's a few inches around, it's quite simply just not designed to handle that big of branches. You're going to need something that's going to be bigger, like I mentioned, a cordless one or something like that. But if you're looking at just trimming off like small branches, something like that, this will work really, really nicely. Now, one thing I did want to mention, this is going to come with the handle right here as well. So let's say, for example, you just want to use this to prune small branches. You can easily do that also just by using this one. Let me pull it off here. Just by using this one here. So you can quite simply just use it like this to prune a smaller branch that's going to be lower to the ground. So like if I got this little guy and say I want to pull this guy off, I'm just going to go right like this. And you can see I cut that off really, really easily. So this is going to be plenty sharp and it works really, really good. The problem is you can't get the pressure when you're up there with the pull saw. So it's just the further away from it you are, the harder it is. You're just going to have to, instead of pushing down on it, it quite simply just rakes across this like this with no pressure whatsoever. And so since you're not putting pressure on this, it's just not going to cut as deep every single time. So to be able to do something like this higher up in the air, it's just going to be kind of a slow cut like this, versus now that I'm down on the ground, I can go back and forth much faster and cut through that a lot easier. Just so this is plenty sharp and it works great. It's just the main issue with it is going to be, you've got that really long pole getting up in the air, and especially bigger branches is where it's really going to have, it's just going to take some time for you to be able to cut through it.